Oh hey guys, Faxinator here from Motion Swift Synthesis with our game controller that turns Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 controllers into MIDI controllers, as you can see. A beautiful device. And in this video I want to go a little bit just in depth how changes that we made from the first version to this version of this device give you much more control and more musicality. As you can see on any of these controllers, for example the analogs over here, they have a certain behavior, right? They always snap back to the center, whether it be these left and right guys that are snapping, you know, left, all the way right, or to, and always returning to the center, or up and down, which is just the same, and then returning to the center, as well as these guys, these left and right shoulder triggers, which you know, they don't have a up and down mechanism, but they have a 0, and when you press it, it's all the way on, right? And then when you let go, it snaps back to 0. So it's not really useful like this for musical applications, if you think about it, because it will always, you know, snap to whatever its middle value is, whether it be 0 or whether it be middle. And we kind of struggled a little bit, I think, with the first version of our device to grasp exactly how to give the user the control that he needs. And in this version, I think, basically we nailed it. I think we now have a very musical and very useful controller, and I'll show you just why I think that. So, with our controller right now, as you can see, I have the left X and Y. X is on the resonance, I think. Yeah, X is on reso, Y is on frequency. I have this L shoulder trigger connected to the on-off of this simple delay here in Ableton, and I have the right trigger, depth trigger, going to the feedback of the simple delay line. Now let's play around with this a little bit and listen, and I'll show you how what we did here with these controls really gives you the most control possible. So as you noticed, while I was playing around with this left XY thingy over here, you noticed that each one of these kind of had its own range. They weren't, they were all snapping back somewhere, but as you can see, the filter cutoff is kind of moving in a bigger range than the resonance, and they're both snapping back to a different value. And that is because that is the control that we gave you over here. So each one of these has a max and a snap value. Now let's say, let's move the snap value for the resonance for a minute, and you will see that as it's moving here as well. So this would be like the base place of the knob. And then you have the max value, which is the maximum up and down around that value that the modulation will go. So it's basically the depth of modulation in a bidirectional sort of way, which is really neat and gives you exactly the precise control that you want. As you can see, I've increased the snap and the maximum, and now the resonance is moving all over the place. It's the same we can do for the filter. For example, I can snap it to 0, and I can give it all the way to the maximum, and then it will move on the whole range. Let's play this for a minute. So of course this is ugly, you know, it's not really useful. And again, just to emphasize, so we can tame it back to whatever we want, you know, we can take the resonance all the way down somewhere, give it a little bit of a range, but not as much. And again, tame the cutoff all the way, you know, let's have it somewhere over here, and give it a little bit of a range to move at. And the modulation becomes really beautiful and really fun to control, really easy to control, and really musical to control, because it's exactly, you know, on the ranges that you want it to be, and you can really find your sweet spots easily. It becomes beautiful quickly. So this is for the XYs. It might seem like something small that we've added here, but it's major. What turns a pretty much useless controller into a musical instrument. So for the XYs, now let's look at something else. Let's look at how we handled the trigger behaviors. So on all these it's the same. Xbox, PlayStation generic controllers. All these over here, the buttons X circle, triangle, rectangle, these shoulders over here, and these as well, the thumb presses. All of them are basically on and off buttons, but as you noticed, as I'm holding it, it's turned on. When I let it go, it's turned off, what we call a button. Now you could use it like this. We kept this functionality. So for example, if I want to, and it's perfectly cool, while I'm holding this, I want the delay to play, I can do it that way. But what if I want the delay, to be constant? I don't want to have to hold this button. So we gave all of these buttons the option to go from a button mode to a toggle mode, which means basically that you have to go over here to the settings page and just switch from button to toggle mode for whichever one that you want it to behave that way. And then one click will turn it on, the second click will turn it off, and again, it's much more useful for musical applications, because this is probably the type of stuff that you would like to do with this, to turn on effects, to turn off effects, to turn on, I don't know, sync mode in an oscillator and stuff like that, because these are actually toggle buttons. But again, you still have the old functionality available, where you can have some of them this way and some of them that way, and map them any way that you want. So now I can just simply turn it on. And again, let's look again one last thing at the feedback. So we mentioned that the XYs, they have a snap point, which is the middle point, and it's bidirectional modulation. Well, here it's unidirectional modulation. It only goes forward, in a forward way. So again, if we go to the page where we can set the max and the snap for the L depth and for the R depth, which are these two guys. So let's look at the R depth for a minute. Where is our... It's the feedback over here, right? So if we set the or it's the R depth or L depth? R depth. There we go. So we can set the snap to 0, for example, the maximum to all the way, and then the button will go all the way, and you have your sensitivity, which is really nice with this knob. So for the last example here, now the fun starts. How good can you be, You have to be really, really gentle. And of course, if you let it go, it just goes back to the bass thing that you set up. Doesn't intrude on your music and doesn't snap to some wild number, to 0 or to halfway point or to whatever value the controller wants to snap to. So thanks for watching this. I hope this gives you an idea how awesome this thing is. It's now truly a musical instrument. Okay, it's truly a musical instrument, musical and really fun. Needs a little bit of practice, just like any other musical instrument. So check this out, and I hope you make some awesome music with this stuff. See you.